So I want to thank you for joining in on the workshop today. We're going to be going over HTML. We'll be going over how to create a list, how to create a table, how to use the anchor tag, how to put in an image, and things of that nature. So if you have any questions throughout, feel free to unmute yourself, as I cannot see the chat when I am sharing my screen. So it's preferred if you would just unmute yourself if you had a question. So let's go ahead and jump into it. All right, so here I have pre-written a little bit of HTML, and what we're going to do is fill in the blanks, kind of similar to what you're doing in the curriculum, and we'll just go ahead and fill in the blanks here. So I have an index.html page, I have a portfolio.html page, and I have a references.html page. What I'm building here is we'll take out the CSS right here. What we're building here is a portfolio website, like a resume site. So we start off with our document structure where we have our doc type. We say we have our HTML element, which has the entire document in there. We have our head element where we can find our title, and we can change our title. Let's say I'll just put my name. And then we have our body. We're going to be spending a majority of our time in the body because that is what we want to show on the browser. So if we look at our body here, we have a header, and it looks like we have a start of a navigation, and we have some anchor tags. So in order to get these anchor tags to work, we need to fill in anchor tag attributes. So the goal of this is I want to be able to click on these words and go to the different pages. I want the About Me to take me to my index page. I want the portfolio to take me to portfolio HTML, and I want references to take me to references.html. So does anyone remember what attribute we use in anchor tags in order to redirect the page?
href, hyperlink reference?
Yes, perfect. So we are using href. And what we're going to set it equal to is the location of the file. So here, the About Me, I want it to go to index.html. And then for this one, what should href equal to?
Portfolio.html.
Perfect. Okay, and then lastly, we'll go ahead and put references.html. And we'll go ahead and save that. So now if I were to open this in a browser, I already have it ready here, and I refresh, we now have clickable links. So now if I go to portfolio, I go to the portfolio page. I click the back button, I can go to references. But I want to have the navigation on all pages so I can go ahead and easily navigate between the three pages. So what do you think I'll have to do in order to make that happen?
And guys, I need to drop off. Is this will be recorded by any chance?
Yes.
Alrighty, then Cassandra, you're going to be sharing that in the Slack, or you're going to be sharing that in the email?
So it is in your announcements on your dashboard under Workshop Library.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Yes, no problem.
Guys, have to drop off. Bye-bye.
So in order to go ahead and put a navigation on all three pages, I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste this in the three HTML pages. So I'm just going to simply copy and paste. Just going to fix my indentation here. Save that. Do the same thing for references. So now I have a navigation on all three pages. So if I go back here and refresh, I can easily navigate through the three pages. Okay. Are there any questions on the anchor tag?
I don't have any.
Okay. All right, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and create an About Me section. So for the About Me section, I'm thinking we can have an image, a little thing that says my name, and then maybe a little paragraph of some information about me. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to first create a div. And div is going to be just like a generic container where I can put content in. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use an h1 tag as my heading tag. And I will just put, hi, my name is Cassandra. And I have my little greeting there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put an image of myself. So I will use an image tag. If you remember, image tags are self-closing, so they do not require a closing image tag. And they have one attribute. Do you remember what that attribute is?
The source attribute, SRC.
Perfect, source attribute. So what I'm going to be using is an absolute URL. So I'm going to be taking an image from online and using that as my source of the image. So I'm going to jump back to the internet and I'll go to my GitHub and go to my profile. And this image looks good to me, so I am just going to right-click the image and copy image address. So once I copy that image address, I am going to paste that address into the source attribute. So now it will pull the image from this URL. And that's considered an absolute URL. So now I have a little title, I have a picture of myself, and let's say I go ahead and put a paragraph tag and I put some text in there. I'm just going to steal the text from over here. And let's say I copy this a bunch of times. We have a bunch of text. All right, so now if I save this and I refresh my page, I have a title, I have an image, and I have a little bit of content about myself. Are there any questions on the code that I've written so far?
Nope.
Awesome. All right, so the last thing I want to do on this page, and I want to put it on all of the pages, is I'm going to have links to my social media. So first things first, I'm going to download some icons that I can use. So I'm going to have clickable icons that take me to my social media. So I have already downloaded a Git icon right here, and I have placed it in an image folder. So I'm going to use that as my social media link. A great place to download icons for free is iconfinder.com. You can type in anything. Let's say you want to do Facebook, for example. I always make sure the free is selected, and then you can select any of these icons that you prefer. So let's say you like this one, and you can choose the size of the icon and download it. And then once it's downloaded, you want to make sure that you move the image inside of your project folder. So I already have an image in my project folder inside of a folder called images. So I can just refer to that. So I am going to first do an anchor tag because I want the image to be clickable. So in order to make anything clickable, we're going to use an anchor tag. So here, anchor tag, I'll have my href like we did before. Instead of using a relative URL like we did up here, we're going to use an absolute URL like we did here. So if I go to my GitHub, I can just take this address from the address bar and copy it. And I am going to paste it in here. And then I'm going to add another attribute to the anchor tag so it can open up in a separate tab instead of redirecting the page. Do you happen to know which attribute that could be?
The underscore or target equals underscore blank.
Perfect. Yep. So target, equals underscore blank is going to open it up in a separate tab. So now we have it ready to whatever we put in here is going to be clickable. It's going to take us to this GitHub account, and it's going to open up in a separate tab. So what do I want to be clickable? I want it to be that icon. So I'm going to use another image tag here. And I am going to give it a source. In that source, since the image is in our directory, is the pathway. So it starts off in the project folder. Then we want to go to the images folder. And then inside of the images folder, we want the git.png file. Okay. So now what will appear is that icon. That icon will now be clickable, and it will take me in a separate tab to this website. So if I save this and refresh, you can see at the bottom here, I have my little Git icon. I can click it, and it takes me to the GitHub account. Are there any questions?
I don't have any.
Okay, awesome. So I'm just gonna go ahead and copy this footer to all of the pages. I'll just put it down here. And there. All right, so we have completed our About Me page. So we have my name, image, some text, and then we have some social media and a navigation up top. So let's go ahead and jump to our portfolio page. So here on our portfolio page, we already have our header set up, we have our footer, we have a title, we have some text, but here we want to go ahead and create a list. So right here, I have a UL element, meaning unordered list. So if you remember, unordered list is going to be bullet points, and ordered list is numbered, right? So we're going to be filling out bullet points. We can switch it to numbered if you want. But what is the element that we nest inside of the unordered list in order to create the list items?
The LI element.
Exactly. So LI stands for list item, and that's what we'll use to create the list. So I'll just go ahead and fill this out with some applications. Now we have about 4 items on our list, and we have an unordered list. So if we were to check that out, we have our unordered list right here. If I wanted to make these numbers, what would I have to change?
You would change it from an unordered list to an ordered list.
Right.
So
go ahead.
So UL to OL.
Exactly. So we're going to change the ULs to OLs, and that will make it numbered. All right. So there we have our list created in our portfolio, and that completes our portfolio page. Do you have any questions on lists? Seems like you get it.
Nope.
All right, cool. And lastly, we'll take care of our references. So I'm going to go ahead and create a reference table. So I'm just going to create a table of references. I already have our navigation, I already have a little heading, I already have our footer. So we're just going to fill out this table. So with tables, you can just simply do rows and have just different rows. Later, HTML5 came out with T-head and T-body and T-foot, I believe it is. And what that does, it's separating the table. It doesn't do anything aesthetically in your HTML. It would be the same as if we wrote TR for all of these and created those rows. But what it does is it allows you to style it a lot easier in CSS. So you can just target the head part of the table, or the body part, or the foot part of the table. So it's not necessary, but it is handy, especially when it comes to styling. So I'm just going to have a T head and a T body. I don't really need a T foot. So I have my T head, and in the T head, I'm going to put that row where I put all the titles of the column. So kind of just like an Excel spreadsheet where you create a table, you have rows and columns. I'm going to do the same thing here. So TR indicates one row, and TD indicates our column. So the number of TDs that we have in the TR element indicates the number of columns in the table. So if we're dealing with references, I'm going to do name. Let's do relation. Let's do years known. And let's do phone number. Okay, so what I've done here is I've created a head for the table, and it has one row and 4 columns. So now I can go ahead and fill in my body. So we're going to basically do the exact same thing, except we're changing the inner HTML of these TD elements in the TD body so it can fill out the table. So we'll do TR, and then I'll just fill this out here. Okay, so I have one row filled out. We'll go ahead and fill out just 2 more. All right, so what I have done there in my T body is I've created 3 rows, and I have filled out the columns. So each of these are respective to these. So name, relation, years known, phone number. So if we go ahead and save this and check it out, we have a table. And that completes our poor resume site there. It's not the most aesthetically pleasing, but that's where CSS comes into play. And I will go ahead and add CSS in tomorrow's workshop where we go over CSS. But are there any questions on HTML, either on what you've seen here, or maybe something you didn't see here but you saw in the curriculum?
I don't have any, no.
All right, well, I do want to thank you for joining me today. And if you do have any questions, feel free to message me on Slack. And if you need to set an appointment with me and you need that one-on-one time, please let me know as well.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Have a good one.
You too.
Thanks, bye.